Welcome to the Ladies Talk Show. This is your host, Leah Richheimer. Thank you for being here. And we are in chapter 7, and we're getting our appreciation felt. I can see all of you out there saying, wow, I'm happier than I've ever been before, Leah. This is great, right? Okay, because here we are. We're getting our appreciation bucket filled. We're doing all of our millions of tasks and to-do lists and chores and whatever, getting them all done with less resentment. They're still hard work, but less resentment and more feeling like that satisfaction of being appreciated. Okay, we are on chapter 7, page 168, Marriage Secrets. Here we go. Trial and error. So we've gone over the 6 appreciation techniques, and hopefully you guys are trying them out and getting started with this whole process. Trial and error. This whole process takes time and effort, but after a few months, you will hopefully have found the right combinations of tools to at least get you started. You may need to try many different techniques and will likely fail at some. But hopefully, as you see how good it feels to get your appreciation bucket filled, you will be motivated to keep trying. And as your husband sees how much more content you are, he will be more encouraged to support your efforts. I once had a woman sitting in my class who was the descendant of an illustrious Rav from the previous century. Oh, I told this story last time. Okay, here we are. Okay, fine. It's short, so whatever. It's a household name. So, the descendant of a household name. I was a little nervous having her there, and when I explained these appreciation methods, as polite as she was, I felt that she wasn't really buying into anything I was saying. It hurt my pride a tad, but I carried on, since even though I knew my methods might sound hokey at first, I knew that they worked. Anyway, in her gregarious way, at the beginning of the next class, she raised her hand. She said that the appreciation concepts had seemed foreign and newfangled to her last week, and she questioned whether these ideas were part of our Masorah, our inherited tradition. She was mulling them over while traveling on the Yom Tov break, but she couldn't bring herself to try any of them. Then, at her bubby's house for the Friday night meal, sipping chicken soup, she heard her bubby's Lata say to her Zadie, "The soup came out pretty nice, Zadie, yes?" She nearly fell off her chair. Maybe there was something to these newfangled techniques after all. What a mensch that she shared that with us. Remember to take your time with this. You are not in a race to be a perfect appreciation charmer from the first time out the gate. It's important to remember that every husband is different, and it will likely take time for both of you to get used to this. Make sure not to expect too much so that you aren't disappointed, and to give ample time for trial and error since you are working on changing age-old habits. Sharing the details. For some husbands, it might be best to just quietly try one of the approaches. For others, communication is key. For example, you might want to start by explaining that women in general need continuous appreciation. It will likely be comforting to him to know that your excessive need for appreciation is normal. And then maybe mention that you don't want him to be burdened by having to show you appreciation all the time. Explain that you learned several new techniques which you hope will bring the specific appreciation that you need without too much bother on his part. Then perhaps say it would mean so much to you if he was willing to give them a try. Use your own words and your own charm, and be sure to daven that this conversation goes well before you even start. Realize, however, that you might try to each one of these strategies and it could happen that none of them work. Or you may find that your husband just isn't interested in playing what he considers games with you. It may simply be because of his personality type or his deep-rooted belief system, or maybe he has made attempts to show his appreciation in the past, but you may have inadvertently thwarted his attempts by not being ready to receive it, or not knowing how to let the appreciation in, which hopefully you guys know now. Or maybe the dynamics in the relationship are so entrenched in other patterns that it's hard to turn them around after so many years of bad habits. All you can do is try. It is very important, however, that you don't take this as an opportunity to lose your temper because he doesn't appreciate you. If you demand appreciation, it will always backfire and make things even worse. You must take to heart the fact that he never knew you needed it so much, and you never knew how to bring the appreciation out of him well either. So no one is really at fault. But it is something that's important enough for you to try to improve on slowly but surely over time. If everything fails, maybe try it all again after 6 months. You might have much better chance of success next time after having used many of the other tools in this book. For instance, if your husband has been spending most of his time being rejected or feels unloved, he may not be very receptive to showing you the appreciation you need. But if after 6 months of hard work, your husband actually feels accepted and bolstered, he might be much more receptive to your trying these new appreciation methods. Okay. Also, recognize that right now, your husband might be very resistant to working on your marriage. It might take a great deal of love and attention to bring the relationship to harmony again. It's a process, and with Hashem's help and your continued hishtadlus work and davening, it will emerge Hashem be fruitful. Just remember, your emotional health and well-being depend on appreciation, and if you don't receive it, the lack will surface in other areas. Perhaps you will take it out your resentment on your husband, becoming upset over trivial matters. Maybe you will seek satisfaction in the refrigerator or look for too much appreciation from your children, which is inappropriate. Resentment is born of lack of appreciation. That's why it's so important that we must share all the details of what we do for our husbands so they can appreciate us. We must make sure they know what to do so they won't come home and ask, "Dear, what did you do all day?" So anytime you're feeling blue or moody or annoyed or resentful, check your appreciation bucket. Chances are there are little dust bunnies swirling around in there. Time has shown that all women need it, and we have been granted the chaim to get it, the sweetness to get it. Okay, ladies, there we go. We have it, chapter 7. And what is our questions?
Okay, a lot of questions rolling in. So Mira asks, I tried the prompt method regarding the dinner I made, but it backfired because my husband didn't like what I made and he's a terrible liar. Now I'm scared to try it again because I was embarrassed. We're only married a couple months, which is why I think I was affected so strongly.
Right. There's a difference between being a liar and being a what's the word I'm talking? In other words, if someone comes home with a dress and says, "How do you like it?" and you say, "It's not the best," and they can go return it. But if they come home and say, "I got this dress on sale. I love it. I'm so thrilled with it. It's not returnable because it was on sale. What do you think of this dress?" You're allowed to say, "Lovely," right? Even though you're like, "Oh my gosh, what is she wearing?" So you have to love the guy for trying. And hopefully over time he'll become better at not, bonking you over the head with how he really feels. So I think that maybe try some of the other methods first. Don't do the prompt method. Try, maybe making a list. Maybe if you're just newly married, you can. It's good because you can get into some good routines to keep your appreciation. In other words, if your appreciation bucket hasn't been filled for 20 years, but you don't even have the muscles or the understanding, look, I've seen women who've been going 30, 40 years without appreciation, understanding it, and then they switch. So it's not like it's impossible. It's not like it's even very hard. The biggest part of this is the mental shift from thinking it's his responsibility to appreciate me to, you know what, he's not going to do it. I'm going to just try some techniques to get it myself, even though it's B+ appreciation rather than A+++, if he spontaneously came out with it, which a woman can't live on that because, unless their husband's a genius, he's not doing that every day. It's like twice a year, and a woman has an empty bucket. So the biggest shift is shifting the mental attitude to saying it's his job to saying it's my job and I'm going to make sure I get it, very satisfying, even though B+ are great. Let me tell you, you'll try this at home. So to answer the question is that I would try different methods first, and you might also, if I don't know, what he had said. He says, "This dish isn't. I didn't like the food, and why did you do it?" And he puts you down or something. That's very different than if he says, "This really wasn't my favorite. I liked what you made last night better." Something like that, depending on how he is. If he's doing it in a very sweet manner like that, you might say, when you don't like something, I do want you to tell me the truth, but maybe while you're eating it, say, yeah, it's fine or whatever. And then after say, tonight's dinner, I liked last night's better, whatever. You can coach your husband into what you want to hear what works better for you in terms of these types of, you can't really call it criticism, but guidance. He knows you want to please him. You spend 4 hours in the kitchen or an hour in the kitchen and whatever, cooking stuff for him. He knows you want to please him and make him happy. But how he criticized that, or whether he just gently guides you, makes a big difference. And you can tell him that. Just say, this is how I hear constructive criticism the best. If you say it like, I didn't like that, it will hurt my feelings. But if you say, it wasn't bad and I appreciate the effort, but maybe don't use 2 tablespoons of salt in the soup, whatever, maybe use a little bit of humor in it. And I think it could be very helpful for you to know how to please him more. And he'll feel glad that you're making the efforts to want to please him more. Very, very good. Okay, Gila,
okay,
what?
Great. So Bracha asks, my husband and I are students and are being supported by our parents. We really don't receive anything extra besides for what we need to live. Should we just wait to try this method? I guess she's talking about getting gifts.
Yeah.
When we're working and supporting ourselves, or is it important to try it now and try to make it work?
It's a good question. So it depends. So you have to know yourself. If the appreciation you need is verbal, like if your husband says, oh, that's great, and he's like complimenting you all day long and making you feel good about everything you do, that might do it for you. So I have women who've tried everything and their husband is always too busy to do it. And the hurdle to try and get him to compliment them, and whether they're using the prompt method or the ventriloquist method or the list or whatever isn't working, but they do know that getting a gift makes them feel good. So if the method that you think will make you feel the most appreciated is gifts, if it isn't, then do one of the other 5 methods. If you feel, I really gave it a lot of thought and a lot of trial and error, and really it's gifts, then you need to figure out how to make that work in your life. And again, as I said, doesn't need to be spending a lot of money. A gift can be anything. You're walking around and, the apples are 25 cents, oranges are 25 cents and a peach is $1.50, because it's out of season or whatever, and you want the peach. Probably it's within the budget for you to spend the extra $1.25, whatever it is to get that sweeter thing. And when even if you're shopping, you come home and you put the peach on the counter and you tell your husband, that's to give me for Shabbos, because it's that's my Shabbos gift, for you to give to me. And you might buy 2 of them. One that's our Shabbos gift to each other. And for a gift, there is something that I heard in Indian where handing something is important. So even though if you buy all the gifts, he wouldn't say, oh yeah, it's on my top shelf, just grab it out of my closet. I bought you a bracelet, or that bracelet that we got together. It's the whatever, there's something of physically should have a gift, physically having it in his hand and handing it to you, handing something and you receiving it. Not him just, even still, if he has something and he gives it to you and puts it on the desk, he should give it from his hand to your hand, if possible. Sometimes that's not possible. He's already left for shul and it's Shabbos gift and whatever, and he leaves it outside, where you're getting ready, or he puts it by your candles or something like that. And that's fine, completely fine, but is slightly better if it's handed from person to person. So there is another point that I neglected to talk about, last show I talked about how my husband and I shop together. And that is a quintessential thing. And I just really apologize. It's not in Marriage Secrets. I don't know. I should add it and make footnotes to it or whatever. But adding that whole section about shopping together. Now, it could be some husbands are like, all right, get me out of here. But it could be also, Gila and then one of the other ladies was talking about how they actually brought their husband to the florist shop and said, I like these ones. I don't like those ones. I like these ones, and told them what they like. And they went with him as a kind of a date night kind of a thing. Beautiful. I thought that is just gorgeous. So it's fine. I just wanted to add that to your repertoire of things you could do is, let's say you gift giving is your appreciation method or one of them. And, some women need both or all, all of the above. And so, then you can say, as a date night, okay, let's go out to dinner. And then right next door is a little shop where they have hair accessories. I'd love to get some bows, or I don't know, whatever. I love, there's a jewelry shop, or there's, even if your husband gets you nail polish for Shabbos, and you go into, Target or something, and you walk in that aisle and you like this one, you like that one, gift giving, shopping together for gifts, if your husband will tolerate it, or maybe he'll like it. I don't know. Again, this is if it fills your appreciation bucket. If doing that means I don't like that color and what, and you have to get things that you're probably better off getting your own things, because if he picks look at this color, and it's like purple, pink polka dots and green stripes, and you're like, oh, you're kind of put on the spot. So you really have to think carefully before doing it, but if it works, it's another beautiful time together. Okay, what do we got next, Kayla?
Okay, so Kayla says, my husband has become really good at showing me appreciation, but sometimes he does it in public and I get really embarrassed. It's not an issue of tznius, but I just don't like being the center of attention. How do I go about this without making him feel that he should stop showing me appreciation?
It's a very good question. It's a little bit problematic for a husband to compliment his wife in front of other people, because the other wives are like, my husband doesn't love me as much as he loves her, and whatever it kind of, or if he's complimenting her and makes her, puts her, like you said, she feels uncomfortable being highlighted as having done something good. It could be problematic in that, raising other people's jealousy. On the same token, for the Gedolim, in the Shabbos meal, they turn to their wife and say, that was absolutely delicious. Thank you so much. And they show appreciation in front of, whoever's at the table with them. And that's a beautiful thing. It's an aliyah for the people who hear it. So you have to balance it out a little bit.
Hey, sorry, Kayla did add that when she says public, it means in front of her parents and siblings.
I see. That's, very good. Okay, that's a little bit different, because doing it in front of your parents is a good thing, because the parents get nachas from seeing the husband appreciate the wife. That gives them pleasure, like, oh, he's being so good to her. It's a little difficult. It's a little bit problematic in front of siblings, because the siblings sitting around the table, you don't know, they came to the Shabbos table. This couple, are having an argument about where to send their kids to camp. That couple just came off a, 2-week time where they were, very, very conflicted about what to do, and she's mad at him, and who knows? And then to hear that on top of it sort of adds salt to the wound. I'm not saying that everybody's a walking problem, but I'm just saying everybody's got issues, and you don't know what those issues are and what people are particularly going through. So with siblings, making them jealous that you're a better husband to your wife than they are will make the wives of the siblings, that the women feel badly that they don't have such a nice husband, and the men will feel like, oh, I should do that. So maybe in a sense it might, but a buffer, or make the husband, motivate him to be a better a husband. But maybe he starts thinking, I would say nice compliments and nice appreciation to my wife if she was that good, whatever, so usually the first thing people do is they go on the defensive, rather than, oh, I should be an aliyah, I should raise up and be a better person. They're usually defensive of why it's another person's fault for them not being great. So it's dangerous. So in terms of, to answer the question, is that you don't want to stop his flow, but I would say something about the fact that in front of other people, you're just worried. You love how he's gotten so good at appreciating. Your appreciation bucket is feeling full. You feel so much more content in life with him working on this, and you're so grateful for all of his efforts. However, in front of other people, you're worried it'll make other people feel badly. And unless it's just your parents, and then it's fine, or or grandparents, bubbies, zadies, both sides. But for the people who are your siblings or friends or whatever, it's a little bit problematic for those reasons. And that's why it's so important. Shalom bias is really, when shalom bias is your number one priority in life, you start to see, a husband, let's say a husband, says something to the kid, right? That's harsh. They're at your Shabbos table and the husband says, "Oh, why did you, whatever." I mean, you don't want to take sides. So this is the stupidest example ever, but let's say, your husband says, "Oh, why did you do?" And it's harsh. And you see on the wife's face that she's concerned that he embarrassed in front of people or whatever. And you turn to that couple and you say, "You guys are amazing parents." Then it relaxes the wife. It makes her not mad at him. It makes him feel validated, or whatever. Complimenting them like that creates shalom bias. So anything that trips out, once shalom bias is a focus in your own life, you'll see that it pours out into other areas where you can say things that help other people's shalom bias. So that's not our job. Don't worry about it. If you're not doing that, don't think, "Oh, another thing Leah's making us do." No, just focus on getting the appreciation you need. Okay, next question.
Hey, great points. Tahila asks, my husband hates surprises and can't understand why I would want surprise gifts. He always asks what I want, and all I want is a surprise. Do I just pretend that I'm happy to tell him what I want? Should I appreciate it, or should I explain to him again that I prefer surprises?
Oh, it's a good question.
Sounds like he just wants to make her happy and give her exactly what she wants.
Right. That's a paradox you just presented to me, because there's no win. It's a non-win situation in either case. The place I would go with this, because I'm also anti-surprises. The whole Western society is surprises, and that you should, if someone bought their wife a house, a mansion on a hill, like that's the best surprise ever. It's like, no, actually it doesn't like kitchen, it's not close to the school, the carpool's going to be worse, whatever it is, like, surprise. I'm very anti-surprises. Now that doesn't mean there's no spontaneity and there's no secret little surprises, but for instance, if a husband wants to surprise his wife with a $50 gift, that's lovely. He shouldn't surprise her with a $5,000 bracelet. It's just mean. She's got to wear it. She doesn't like it. It's not her taste. It's not returnable, or it is returnable, and then she feels horrible returning this he got her this fabulous thing. So I'm very, very circumspect or suspicious when it comes to surprises. So this woman, the place I would start with this is her desire to examine her own desire for surprises. Most of us want surprises because we've been sold this bill of goods that a surprise means that somebody really knows you. Like, oh, he knew me and he got me this gift because he knew me deeply and what I would love and what I wouldn't love. And it's not true. It means that he guessed right, look, there is a thing. If a husband comes home and he gets you something you genuinely like and he surprises you with it you genuinely like, there is maybe a little bit of a better feeling than if you had picked it out, given it to him to give to you. I will admit that. But the difference is like this. It's tiny. It's a tiny, infinitesimal, better feeling. And the odds that he gets something that's right on the money are so slim. Husbands just don't have that. Some husbands are better than others, but for the most part, it's they don't have that woman's taste. Like, it's why you ask a girlfriend, ask your husband, this. My husband has fantastic taste. He's really spot on many, many things. But you ask this, and you can ask one of your teenage daughters, say, no, that's old fashioned. No, Mom, that doesn't look good. That makes you look like an old lady. Ma, whatever, there's something about a woman that has that ability. And I'm making broad generalizations, mostly to give you permission to choose and buy things for yourself and let your husband give them to you. Because this woman who says, oh, I love surprises, her job is to follow her husband's will. And her husband is saying, I want to know. So she has to get over that. That's my opinion on it. She can trial and error it and maybe stay away from gifts for a while and just use the other appreciation techniques rather than that one until you get it worked out in your head. And again, remember, we're trying these appreciation things and playing with these little tools that I'm giving you, these 6 tools. They're going to be a lot more powerful as we move forward, and you're doing a lot of the other things in the book. Then these are going to, your husband's going to be a lot more receptive to working on this with you. So very good. Okay, I think we have time for one more question. Go ahead, Gila.
Okay, so Dasi asks, I told my husband about needing more appreciation and that I will be trying some of these methods on him. And he said he felt hurt and frustrated because he makes a very big effort to express his appreciation of me. In parentheses, he really does. I told him I'm like a bucket with a hole in it and it's not his fault, but he really just didn't understand. What do you suggest I do? My husband is very sensitive.
Very good. Good that he's trying. Good that you tried. Good that you're in a good place. This isn't like a setback, and this is like this is the process of moving along. People think, oh, I'm going to tell him this, and then we're going to be here. No, it's like you're going to tell him, you're going to go up, down, like that, whatever, and hopefully you're just improving over time. So good for your efforts that you've got so far. And I think this is a matter of repetition. I think that you should say to him, again and again, I appreciate the appreciation you're giving. And you were selling him on the idea. I just feel like a man can't possibly read a woman's mind. He can't possibly. So whereas you might say, oh, that was a great dinner, because you, in all your heart, you're putting it, and you want to be a good husband, saying that was a great dinner, right? And what I really need appreciation for was the fact that it Friday morning when the day started, the house was flying. The table was covered with books. The living room had a kid had taken a bucket of laundry and put the clean folded clothes all over the thing. I had to refold everything. The place was a disaster, and I spent hours making it beautiful for Shabbos. So while you're complimenting me on the food, which I'm so grateful for, but you can possibly know, like you left the house before I got to the living room or whatever, you couldn't possibly know how much I did. So when I would say to you, oh, thank you so much for compliment on the dinner. But by the way, I just want you to know it took me 2 hours to clean the living room and dining room today to get it ready for Shabbos. And when you say, oh, wow, thank you so much, it means so much for me because I feel like I got heard. But there's no way you would have known to say that. Is that something you can understand, sweetheart, dear, darling, whatever. And if you say it in that way so that you can, tell him, you can speak what your needs are without him feeling defensive or hurt, or, if he's, and you can say, I know you're sensitive and I know you just want to make me happy, but you can't read my mind. And if you don't mind trying this with, trial and error, maybe, just remember the reason I'm doing that is because I want my bucket to be filled so I can take care of you better and take care of the family better and take care of me better. Okay. This is Leah Richheimer for the Ladies Section. Oh, I got to do the homework. Hold on a second. Give me a second. Okay. Your homework this week is a little different. I want you to go through the 6 types of appreciation, and I want you to circle ones to try and prioritize them. I know it may not be perfect. It may take you time to figure this out. But the 6 net methods, strategy number 1, the prompt method. Number 2 is the ventriloquist. Number 3 is to ask directly for appreciation. Number 4 is the list. Number 5 is the prearranged challenge. And number 6 is the gift method. So if you can just spend literally 5 minutes and say, this one speaks more to me, you don't have to make this perfect. This one means more to me. This one means less to me. This one, I think I want to try more. I want to try the prompt more often, see if that works, or the prompt really doesn't work for me, and put that on the bottom. Just prioritize them. I think that'll help you sort of, instead of it being this big, huge millions of things you need to do, you'll see that it's only the top one and maybe the second one to start working with those tools and see how they work for you. Okay, this is Leah Richheimer. Thank you for being with us. We'll see you next time. If you want more, we have so much more. If you want to learn our Masorah and have an awesome marriage, the first thing we have is a foundations course. It's a 13-week course. You get all your questions answered. It's live with me, and you can ask Q&A. It's awesome. Second thing we have is a coaching program. If you are awesome with people and you want to know the Masorah better than 99% of the people on the planet Earth, like for reals, okay? It's a 4-month program. It's very intense. We have major scholarships, and we have somebody who's granted in a lot to pay for a big bulk of it. It's still a little expensive, but for what you get, and then you can start charging money to know it. That's the coaching program. Don't miss it. Go to www.ladiestalkshow.com. Look up the foundations course, look up the coaching. We do retreats, we do all kinds of stuff. You'll find it there. www.ladiestalkshow.com. Thanks for being with us. Leah Richheimer for the Ladies Talk Show.